loves, what's up? It's Christina. Welcome back to my channel. For those of you that are new, I post videos on motherhood and lifestyle, and today I'm going to be sharing with you guys my birth story. It's such a personal experience, and I know that since I share all things motherhood with you guys, that I wanted to share my story and how I gave birth to my beautiful baby girl Angelina. So if you're interested in seeing how my birth story went, continue to watch to the end. So those of you that are subscribed to me and have seen my other videos know that I currently have my 12-month-old daughter Angelina, and since I started my YouTube channel like 2 to 3 months ago, I thought that even though I didn't get to share my labor and delivery experience with you guys, I at least wanted to share my birth story, because every birth story is beautiful, different, and unique, and I wanted to share with you guys mine. So let me start by saying that my birth story did not go with my birth plan. Well, most moms do have a birth plan in place, and unfortunately for me, mine did not start that way. So let me rewind a little by saying that Angelina came at 41 weeks. So when I was pregnant, I thought she was going to be born on July 23rd, 2019. I was so excited to have her be born on that day because I just have a special sentiment with the number 23. So I made sure that I was trying to do all things possible to make sure that she came on her due date. I did all the old wives' tale. I had spicy food. I made sure I was having sex. I made sure that I was eating figs. I was walking non-stop because I just wanted her to come on her due date. But you know, every baby's different, and she just wasn't ready to come on her due date. So when I did go to see my doctor at 40 weeks, they did tell me that she was really high inside. I was in no way dilated at all. So I knew that she just wasn't even probably going to come, not only on her due date, but she wasn't even going to come in the next few days. So I was really, really not worried, but a little sad, because I was just like, how am I going to be able to have this baby naturally? Because I did not want to induce. I didn't want to get Pitocin. I knew I wanted to get an epidural, but I didn't want to get any other types of drugs. So after finding out that my baby was really high up at 40 weeks at my appointment, and continuing to just walk nonstop, sitting on my exercise ball and just bouncing around and doing all the things that I could, I had to make the decision to make an appointment to have my baby induced a week later. So she was supposed to be born on a Tuesday on the 23rd, and my doctor wanted to induce me on the 29th on a Monday, a week later. The longer you have your baby inside of you, the more dangerous that it can become. So I had to live with the fact that I was probably going to get induced. I was gonna have Pitocin, and she was gonna have to come that way, which I was really scared about, because I've heard different stories and how like Pitocin may not work, something could happen to the baby, so many different things. But throughout my whole pregnancy, I made sure to stay positive. I never got into a dark hole or worried about any complications or anything like that. I made sure to exercise every day, whether it was just like walking for 30 minutes a day. I just tried my best to stay positive, and I was going to do that with the birth, the delivery of my daughter as well. So fast forward to the weekend, around Friday, I did start feeling a little bit of contractions. Now, it wasn't anything crazy where they were close together or anything, but I knew that something was finally happening. We were brewing, it was going to happen. And then that next day, on Saturday, I remember I had my parents come over because I needed help just doing some last minute things around the house before she came. And that's when I really started feeling intense contractions. They weren't close together. They were like probably like 10 minutes apart, but I knew that it was something I never felt before. So I knew it meant that the baby was starting to come. So Saturday went about. I remember me and my husband went to dinner. Everything was okay. And it wasn't until like Sunday where the contractions just started getting more and more intense. They were starting to become like 8 minutes apart at that point. And giving birth used to be like one of my biggest fears, because I just didn't think I could get through it, and I thought it would just be the most painful thing. And it is, don't get me wrong, but I just was scared of that feeling. And I told my husband, like, do you think we should just go to the hospital? Should I not wait to get induced? Like, what should I do? So all throughout Sunday, I just walked. I kept walking. I would walk through the pain, because I also knew that people say, don't go to the hospital right away because you don't want to have to wait at the hospital. My hospital was nowhere near my house. Like, I decided to move far away from where my doctor and my hospital is because my job was close to my doctor and my hospital, and it was just more convenient to go to my appointments that way. So my actual house was like 45 minutes away from my hospital. So I knew that whenever I did have the contractions, I just wanted to wait it out, but I didn't want to wait it out till it was too close because I didn't want to give birth at home. So on Sunday, I did a lot of walking. I tried to ride through the contractions, but I remember at like 9 o'clock at night, I called the emergency number from my doctor's office, and I spoke to a doctor who was on call. Wasn't my doctor, but I've heard good things about her, and she told me, if this is how you're feeling, then maybe you should come in. And I looked at my husband, but you know what? Okay, if I really can't take it, I'll come in, but I think I could ride it out. So I decided to just ride it out for the night because I just didn't want to go all the way over there, and they told me that I had to go back home. It was just too far. What wound up happening is I got ready for bed. I made sure to have my bag ready by the staircase. I even had my dog, who I would have to drop off at my mom's house, and I tried going to bed. And that night, I knew that the baby was going to come on her own because I could not sleep all night, and my contractions just got closer and closer. And I remember my doctor telling me that since I did live farther, to wait till they were 5 minutes apart, and they were just like 7 minutes apart, then 6 minutes apart, and then I would have to keep going. I kept taking showers to just be under the heat and try to relax because of course my husband was like knocked out and just ready for me to tell him that I was ready, but I just could not sleep. I kept like waking up and rolling around. I was using a heating pad, all the things to try to just like push through and not make myself go to the hospital too early. So I made it until like 6 in the morning, and I was like, you know what, forget that. I need to go to the hospital. I don't care if they tell me I have to go home. But I decided to like try to eat something. I had like no appetite either. Like I tried eating a banana. That's all I could really eat. Throughout the whole car ride, I was surprised that I was actually able to just get through each contraction and just stay calm. I did start feeling a little nauseous and I did feel pain, but I was able to just keep drinking water and just feel through each contraction, and I kept timing it closer. They started getting closer and closer, and we were able to take my dog to my parents' house and get to the hospital in time. So if you're able to fill out paperwork in advance, definitely do that, because I was able to do that. And even though I did do that, I still had to wait like at least 15 minutes in the waiting room to be able to go upstairs. So even when I went upstairs to be able to get admitted, I still had to wait like 20 minutes, and they were the longest 20 minutes because I was in such intense pain. I could not even sit. I just kept pacing back and forth, and it was just such an intense feeling just hitting me. And I remember when I finally was able to get into triage area, they told me like the baby's still high and you're dilated. So I was finally dilated. That was the first time that anyone told me I was dilated, and I was 3 centimeters dilated. So I definitely feel like I waited a good amount of time, and I didn't wait too long because I did not want to get there at like 5 to 6 centimeters. That's pretty scary, but they were able to admit me because of that, and I was able to get my own room, and I was just so happy and relieved to finally be at the hospital. Now unfortunately for me, but when I did get to go into my room, I thought because I was getting the contractions and I was dilated that I didn't have to get induced and I didn't have to get the Pitocin, but they still advised that I get the Pitocin because the baby still was really high up and my contractions weren't as fast as they wanted, because they did plan to induce me at the nighttime. So I decided to do it, unfortunately, but you know what, I just wanted my baby to be able to come out safely. So here's what really started everything from becoming what I was waiting for until actual reality. So I do want to mention that throughout my whole pregnancy, I didn't have any complications, thankfully. I was pretty healthy throughout my whole pregnancy. I tried to not gain so much weight. I did end up until the birth gaining like, I would say like almost 35 pounds, which I really wasn't too happy about, and I tried to work out every day, but you just, you know, you just can't help it. You have to eat, you know, you have a growing baby. I tried to prevent it because I didn't want to get preeclampsia. My placenta was in the front, so I was never, throughout my whole pregnancy, able to feel my baby kick. And you know, that was a little sad because that is something that like a lot of moms, you know, love sharing and love experiencing, but I also heard that hurts. So I don't know, maybe my next pregnancy, my placenta won't be in the front, so, and I'll be able to feel it, but this time I didn't. So that was kind of something that throughout my pregnancy I was a little nervous about. And in the end, when it was my 40-week appointment, I had to get like sonogram and I had to get heartbeat tests because I wanted to make sure that my baby was moving and she was okay, because I didn't feel her. But luckily everything was okay, and it was just me worrying a little. And I just wanted to share that with you guys, because what is about to happen in the next 9 hours of me giving birth is something that surprised me, because I was healthy throughout the whole pregnancy. So when I finally got to get into the hospital room, I had the sweetest nurse. They put me into, you know, my hospital gown, and I had to get linked up to IVs. They asked me if I wanted to get my epidural now or if I wanted to just walk around and wait it out. Now, with the intensity and how sharp the pains and contraction was, and since this was my first baby ever, I was like, yeah, I want the epidural. I just didn't want to wait, because I've heard stories on like it being like too late to get the epidural because you waited too long. I didn't want to have to deal with that. But unfortunately, when you get an epidural so early, you're not allowed to walk around or anything. So I had to be in the bed for all the hours, and we weren't sure when the baby was actually going to come because they did induced labor. So I had to wait like maybe like an hour and a half for my epidural to come. And getting an epidural is not a comfortable thing. You have to make sure you're completely straight and you don't move. I don't know how to describe it. It's like a pinch and tingly type of feeling, kind of like if you've ever been put under. It's like you get it and then you kind of feel like you're gonna fall asleep. Like that's how your back feels. It's like you get a really sharp pinch like a needle, and then it's like a tingly feeling throughout, and you're getting it in different sections of your back. But you have to make sure that you don't move, and they're positioning you in different ways, like pushed over. But let me tell you, I am so happy that I got it, because throughout the whole day I didn't really feel the intense pains of the contractions after that, and it was such a relief. So after I got the epidural, I really just hung out in my bed and tried to rest and just wait out what was going to happen. My husband was by my side the whole time. Every time like a doctor or nurse came in to check on me, it was always something different happening. And I think that has to do with the Pitocin and just like your body just going through it. So the first thing that happened that scared me was within the first 2 hours of being admitted into my own hospital bed was my water broke. So I was happy my water broke on its own. It didn't have to be broken, because I've heard that hurts as well. But my water broke, and when it broke, I freaked out because I didn't know what it was. I was like, oh no, I peed myself. When you get an epidural, you have a catheter attached to you, so you're actually like, you know, peeing in a bag because you're not able to walk around. So my water broke, and it was like all, I looked down and it was like all green and weird. So I called my nurse, and I'm gonna tell you guys what it is because it's scary. It's called meconium. I don't know if I'm saying it right. So it's basically when your baby poops inside of you, and this often happens when you are late. And since I was about to be 41 weeks, that scared me, because I was like, oh my god, did my baby swallow this? Is my baby okay? And because of this, they had to keep an extra watch on me. After that, you know, they cleaned me up and stuff, but as much as I rested, what wound up happening is I just started getting so many different like chills. I got cold. I wind up getting a fever, and I think it is because of Pitocin, because I want to read to you guys. So what Pitocin is a natural hormone that causes the uterus to contract, used to induce labor, strengthen labor contractions during childbirth. So that's why they decided to give it to me. So what wound up happening though, guys, is I ended up getting a fever. And what I didn't know is The epidural plus a fever in mom may raise the risk for the baby. The babies of women who develop an epidural related fever while in labor are at greater risk of having problems right at birth. No one told me this. I just think it's so crazy that there were things that were going on with me that I didn't know that were putting me at risk or putting the baby at risk, and thankfully I didn't know, so I didn't have to worry. But it's just so crazy to even think of. I also end up getting preeclampsia during this whole process. It just, like, thinking back to it, it's just so crazy how I could be so healthy throughout my pregnancy, and then one day going to labor and then eventually delivery, I end up getting a fever. I end up having to get preeclampsia. I end up having to they had to give me Tylenol for my fever. I never took Tylenol or any type of medicine throughout my whole pregnancy, and I didn't want to, so I had to do that. So I was really upset that I got preeclampsia as well, because I'll read to you guys. During labor, management of preeclampsia involves medications that help stabilize your blood pressure and prevent seizures. I remember them having to give me magnesium throughout the whole day. So all those things that put me and the baby at risk, I didn't know. And I just thank God that everything was okay with us and nothing bad happened to me during that whole process, as well as the baby, because I do have a beautiful baby girl. I just had to try to maintain my worry and just try to stay positive and relax, and I really was just trying to connect with the baby. So I was in labor, I would say I got admitted at like 8 o'clock, 8:30 in the morning. I wasn't actually fully dilated at 10 centimeters until around, I would say, like 8:30 at night. So it was around like 9 to 10 hours of being in labor, just waiting to see what would happen. So I remember when I did become like 9 centimeters dilated, the intensity. Also, let me rewind that. Throughout the day, you feel the contractions a lot, and the epidural does help, but you still feel them. They still are pretty intense, especially towards the end of the day. And I don't know if that's because the epidural started wearing off, or if that is just something that naturally does happen. But I know that around like 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, they give you like a little button to be able to press. I was pressing that epidural button like it was nothing, and just making sure that I did not feel that pain, because that pain is just like, feel like you're not gonna be able to take it, like you're going to just die. Like that's what it feels like. It just feels so intense and powerful, and it hurts so bad that I just needed to press that button to just get through. So when I was like 9 centimeters, it really started feeling like this feeling that no one tells you. Like people tell you like the contractions hurt and stuff, but I didn't know that you get this feeling that feels like something is dropping. And that's what it is. It's a dropping feeling. Your baby's getting lower. And this dropping feeling is probably the most intense, most painful feeling of the whole pregnancy, birth, and delivery. You basically feel like you have to take a poop, and you don't know whether you should hold it or you should push. At around 9-10 centimeters, I called someone in and told them that I was feeling all this, and they had to give me a little bit more epidural, but it just wasn't enough. Finally got to have someone come in and see that I was fully dilated and I was ready to go. So they had to get the team together, but waiting for that was like such a painful experience. I was lucky enough to be able to have my actual doctor deliver my baby, which I was really happy about. She was actually the doctor on call, and she was able to tell me that, you know, your baby's still really high, but you're fully dilated, so you're gonna have to push. I was so scared, guys. I was just like beyond scared, just worried that I wasn't going to be able to push my baby out, and that it was going to take forever. And you just never know whether you're gonna take long or not. And I also didn't want to tear, and tried my best to stay calm and to push and breathe and do all that. But you know, you do what you have to do to try to get your baby out. The baby was ready to come out. I remember having like all the spotlights on me and just everyone surrounding me and just coaching me through. My husband was at my knee. There were nurses behind my doctors. It was just like so crazy. I remember getting intensely hot. They had to put like ice packs behind my neck, and I was just being told to push. And I remember pushing like 2 or 3 times and nothing happened. You have to push with like each contraction. So every time a contraction comes, you push, and then when the contraction stops, you stop. I did not want to go through all this and then still have to get a C-section. So after about 6 different pushes of intensely pushing, like the hardest push I didn't even care at that point if I was going to tear. By the 6th push, I started seeing the baby's head, and I remember my husband saying like, I see her, and then I knew that she was so high, and the fact that by 6 pushes she was already out, I knew that my next push I had to just go in and push as hard as I could, and I did. I pushed so hard, she actually came flying out and my doctor caught her like a football. We still joke to this day that like my doctor could have dropped her. Because my doctor's really petite and she's always going to be like a football fan because of this. So when she first came out, I remember being like relieved, but I didn't hear her crying, and I was a little like scared about that. And because she did poop inside of me, like I said earlier, I wasn't able to have the skin on skin that I wanted, and I wasn't able to cut her umbilical cord. And because of that, they had to have a separate team immediately go and look at her and make sure that she was okay. And I know that like that was like the longest 1 or 2 minutes of my whole life, because when she first came out, she didn't make a sound. I was just so scared, and then I immediately heard her crying, and I was just so happy. I've been hearing that crying ever since. And she came out okay. And what I found out after the fact is that her umbilical cord was actually wrapped around her neck. So when my doctor caught her, she caught her and immediately had to cut the umbilical cord all the way from her neck, which is super scary too. So all the things happened, and after they checked her out and everything was okay, they wrapped her up and they were able to give her to me to hold, and she was just like the cutest thing. I remember all the nurses telling me that she looked like a doll, and she really did look like a little dolly, and I held her so close to me. And I did end up tearing because, like I said, I pushed like a beast, and I teared a little in my perineal, I'm not saying it right, but I teared a little further down and a few inches. So as I held her, my doctor was able to stitch me back up. She gave me like a shot down there so it wouldn't hurt, and I just held my baby the whole time and my doctor stitched me up, and it really wasn't bad. And I know I also pushed out my placenta, and I thought that would end up hurting and I would feel it, and I didn't feel it at all. Yeah guys, it was just as traumatic as the day was. I know that my experience wasn't as bad as some other mamas' experience, but it's my experience to share, and to me it was as intense and as crazy and as beautiful as I feel it to be. And I just, you know, I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world, because they brought my beautiful daughter Angelina Camila into the world, and I'm just so happy that she is here and that she came out healthy and beautiful. I wanted to share with you guys this story because, you know, I know when I was pregnant, I wanted to hear everybody else's story so I can prepare. So just make sure you guys are staying positive throughout your whole labor and delivery, and just know that yeah, it's going to be painful, it's going to hurt, and many different things could happen, but just if you're keeping your frame of mind just positive throughout it all, you know, God is listening, and hopefully your baby will also come out healthy. And I also wanted to tell you guys that once the baby comes out, the pain goes away. It's like it never happened, which is such a relief for me. And I know that's because I had my baby naturally through my vaginal. I know for C-section that's a whole nother recovery process. I stayed at the hospital for about like 2 days because I did have her July 29th. At 9:24 p.m. my beautiful daughter Angelina Camila was born, and she weighed 6 pounds 12 ounces and she was 20 inches. And after I was able to hold her and everything, we went into recovery. After recovery, it's weird because for me, I thought I would feel like more pain. I'm a new mom, so I didn't know what to experience. I think my adrenaline had me like still wanting to like go, like not rest and stuff. But I know that when I was in recovery, we just rested. I held my baby. I had a nurse help me go use the bathroom, which I was so scared to use the bathroom after that because I thought it was gonna hurt so intensely. They take you into the bathroom and they help you have to go pee. And Did it hurt? Yeah, it stung a little, but it didn't hurt as intensely as I thought it would be. And then they're able to give you like the mesh panties and all the pads and everything to just get you going. And they're just so nice at my hospital. I'm just so thankful that I was able to give birth there. And after all that, you just wait until you're able to go into your room. And when we finally were able to go into our room, you know, you don't really get too much rest and sleep, especially since I gave birth at nighttime. I wasn't really able to sleep and my nerves were all over the place. I told them that I was going to breastfeed, but no one like actually helped me do it. So my baby didn't eat for quite a while, which I heard is okay because you know, they're in your body and they could last off what you had eaten earlier the day before. But I would definitely talk to someone about that if you can, to just get someone to help you immediately. I know all the nurses and stuff are really busy. So at like 3 in the morning, like I had to call in my nurse, like, how am I doing this right? And she helped me a little. But overall, guys, it was just such an experience. It's definitely the most hardest, amazing, most beautiful experience I've ever experienced. And as much as it was painful, and in the moment, like after the fact, you're like, I can't do this again. Now that it's been a year in, like I can't wait to do it again. I can't wait to be pregnant again and be able to give birth and meet another little angel baby of mine. So I hope you guys are really inspired by my birth story and that it can give you a sense of what it's like to give birth. I wanted to share with you guys this because I'm an open book when it comes to being a mom, and I just think that it will help some new moms and expectant mamas on their journey as well. So if you guys like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe to my channel and make sure you hit that notification bell. I hope you guys are doing well and you're staying safe, and I'll see you in the next video.